Prior to introducing tonight's speaker, a couple of words about July's program. It will be on a topic of great interest to genealogists right now, the 1950 census. The release, for your information, if you didn't already know, of this census data has been on hold for 72 years. They do not release it, or 70 years. And then they were trying for 2 years to release this or get it straight or something.
No, I think it's normally 72 years.
Yeah. So it's finally been released in the past couple of months. So next month, on July the 7th, Melissa Scroggins will be here, and she has put together a program on the 1950 census. It's a program that this month of June, she is bringing to the Fresno County Genealogical Society, so we'll be the second group to get in the program. Our speaker tonight, Marmie Fidler, was originally scheduled a few years back. However, a pandemic and Marmie's very underlying busy schedule required us to make some changes to that plan, but she is here tonight. I was starting to wonder because she walked in the door at 10 minutes to 6, to be honest with you. The subject for tonight is the result of a couple of cemetery tours that I've taken. Most notably is Boot Hill in Tombstone, Arizona. And then we also, Sharon and I think a couple of people here, we toured Bonaventure Cemetery in Savannah, Georgia. Now, if that cemetery does not sound familiar to you, it might be that the book or the movie, The Garden of the Good and Evil, that was all done at Bonaventure. So it has these cemeteries, they have grave sites with a lot of different symbols or markers or things like that on them. Well, that's what Marmie is here to talk about tonight. Marmie and her husband Shelby are owner and operator of Barnes Memorial here in town, and so they have some practical experience. She has brought along a handout that most of you have, and if you don't have it, we have copies or can make copies. Marmie has also brought a book that you're welcome to go through. And I think she said something about if you wanted to take it home, she wasn't going to chase you down. So,
You're welcome to take it.
So Marmie, I'll turn it over to you. If you want to turn your mic on, and we'll go from there.
I guess it is. Okay, I wasn't real sure what you wanted to hear about or know about. We bought the business from Ray and Jackie Lovelady back in, right at the end of 2004. And from then on, we've been making headstones and designing them. I design them, my husband does the photographs for the headstones and porcelains. And in the last few years, it's been setting all the headstones in Tulare and all of them that we do in Lindsay and Porterville and some of those surrounding cities. As far as the symbols go, I made a list of all of the flowers and some of the other symbols, the trees, the animals, and that sort of thing, and what they mean and what they signify. Nowadays, we don't see too many of the real old ones, or people don't come in and ask for certain symbols, certain flowers. Very seldom do they ask for anything in particular, like maybe a rose or a chrysanthemum or some special flower that that person liked, and so they wanted to put that on the grave. This is an example of the draping that they had in the old, back in the 1900s. This one was 1898 when this person was dying, and that signified the covering and the dignity and that sort of thing of the stone itself. It doesn't have any of the other symbols like the lambs or some of them have stars on them. Some will have doves. There are a few that have doves and a few that have crosses, but not that many in the ones from the 1800s and the
Would you like me to go to the next
Yeah,
photo?
go to the
Okay,
next
yeah,
one.
of course. Sorry, I've just got to adjust the size
Sure.
each time.
Now, that one has the Masonic one, and it has the name. A lot of them put born and the actual date and death, and then below it, their age, down to the years and the months. And you don't see that anymore. But for genealogical purposes, that would work out really well. This is one of the pedestal ones that they have. And sometimes they have names and designs on both sides and the back. Other times they don't. It's just the front. It just depends on the family and maybe how many of the family actually lived and were buried here. Next one. This is a sample of the dove with the olive branch, and that symbolizes the freedom, the spirit going up to heaven and the freedom on it. Most of these real old ones, you can hardly even read the lettering on them anymore because they're all marble, and the marble is such a soft stone, it deteriorates over time, and a lot of it is from the exhaust from cars, how close they are to the rotor or whatever, or how many years they've lived, been buried out there, and what the weather has done to the stones. And you can't really adequately clean the marble stones. They're like those marble statues. It's very difficult to clean them because harsher chemicals will just melt them. So you have to use just like Dove soap and that sort of thing to try and do that. And the next one. This is one that showed life of who he was, and that's the 43 years, 7 months, and 12 days. And that was, they died November 18, 1894. So, and that one's in relatively good condition. So it's a matter of how deeply they were engraved. And back then, they did everything by hand. They don't have the computers and the sandblasting and everything they do now. All of that was done by hand. And some of the decorations and some of the designs on these stones is absolutely beautiful, and you wonder how on earth it was really a true artisan that did the engraving on those stones. Okay. This is out at the old cemetery. It's just an example of another type. It's just wooden slats, but there again, the lettering and the names and dates are gone, so you can't tell who's buried there, who isn't. And if you go up to Three Rivers Cemetery, you see a lot of stuff like that. They use boulders, they use wood, they use all kinds of different things to mark the graves up there. And the one thing that's unusual about that cemetery, I think, is a lot of the Hmong people that are around in Visalia and around here, they've gone up there, and in that cemetery, if they look out over the hill, it reminds them of home, the same topography as they have at home. So they actually, I think, tried to buy up all the graves up there, and they wouldn't let them do that because the citizens of Three Rivers needed a place to be buried too. But there's quite a few Hmong ones now, and so that's another unusual aspect. It's the real old and the probably not necessarily poor, but just didn't have a lot of money to put in headstones. There's a huge variety, and next time I go up there, I'll have to take some pictures of some of those and I'll send them to you guys and you can peruse them a little bit. Next one. This is one of the newer ones, but it shows the angels and the statues with Jesus and those, and how they use the Christian or Catholic statues and stuff. And we see a lot of that out in our the old cemetery. Not so many of the new, a few, but not as many. But it's a lot newer, so that's probably why. The one issue with these poor stones is they break off or steal the angels and the statues quite a bit. And we can replace them and then they're gone again, so it's sad. Okay, next one. This one, I'm not sure, that's another one, I guess, that I did. These are some of them that have the symbols for the woodworkers. That is the symbol for the woodworker. Anybody that wants these books, there's 10 of them, you can take one. And it tells you in here what those symbolisms meant. And this one happens to be on a granite one, but there's one that's out there that's out of metal. And another one that's out of like a part of a tree. And it's the information is engraved into that. And I'm not sure what Doom Tacit Climate means, but it's Latin. So I think well, I don't know what it might be. There is a woman's woodworker's symbol out there too. There's quite a few of the wives who were women woodworkers. We can go to. That's the women woodworker symbol. And hope, yeah, courage, hope, and remembrance. And maybe that's what those words mean. But this one was in English, so I got this one. And this is the woman's, and it's got a bird there, and I'm not real sure if that's just portray that. This is a double stone out there, and it's a mother and father, and they died and were one was, let's see, 34 years, 4 months, and 32 years, 11 months. And this one died, that one, the man died February of 81, and she died October of 82. We see a lot of couples that come in, families that come in, and if the wife or the man passes away and they've been married many, many years, it's not very long, sometimes a matter of months that the wife goes to. And I think after that many years together, it's almost too much for the other one to, go on without the spouse. This one is one that has the dove, and that one is a little more ornate. It has the dove on it. A lot of these don't have, they're just solid. That one is born August 9th of 78 and died December 11th, 83. And it says, I can't, something of my bosom fluttered up to the dawn, heaven. I'll have to look on my phone to see if I can read it. this is one again with the symbol, and this one is out of granite, but it's really hard to read. And you can clean these. My husband's been, for a lot of families, has been cleaning them. If you use a grill brick from Smart and Final, it's just in a cellophane, and it says grill brick, and it's a real lightweight black pumice. And if you scrub this polished part, that will break down that calcium film, and it turns into a black glitter, but it also breaks down that film. And then take a soft cloth and you can polish it up. And he's cleaned some of them out there that have been out there for probably 50, 60 years. And he just keeps going down layer by layer, and pretty soon you're back in the polished granite. And it's possible to clean. It takes some elbow grease and some work, but it is possible to clean. Okay. This is one that shows where they have the mausoleum. And there's several of those out at our old cemetery. There's nothing out at the new, and I don't think there are any plans to have any out there. It's all burials out there, but these are built up. And some have multiple family members. Some have the graves like that, but then they have others that have been either cremated and put side by side, and they have a smaller little grave marker next to them. But that shows how when we went to New Orleans, if you ever go through that cemetery, everything is above ground. Everything is in above ground because of the water table. And it's really fun to go through that cemetery. It really is. I like to go through this one, and especially on the little kids, look and see, and just try and guess on what, history-wise, what could have happened if it was one of these diseases that went through and knocked out a bunch of people. Okay. It's just another one of those. Okay. Now this one, if you came down a little bit, you can't see it, and I'm not sure, no other direction. On top, it has like a roll of granite or cement, and there's 3 or 4 of these. This one happens to be a lady, and it's a heart, and it's holding up that roll. But there's other ones that are out there that are 2 or 3 family members, and they all have those on top of them. And I looked in through here, and the closest thing I could find was the balls of concrete, and it said stone balls in the cemetery are almost always purely decorative. So I'm thinking maybe that was decorative, but I was going to try and talk to the cemetery guys and see if they knew if there was any significance to that and what that was, because as smooth as can be, it's just like a round cylinder on top. And those are some of the flora that you found out there. And it just would depend on what type of flower. Let's see if I can tell from the looks of this what type of flower that is.
Can't see the top of it. Ooh, sorry.
That looks almost like,
I'm sorry, I didn't
That's
mean to
okay.
skip out of it here.
I think that was the morning glory. And the morning glory, symbolizes resurrection, since they close at night and open in the morning sun, and they symbolize mourning, like you mourn for your dead, youth, and bonds of love. So, next picture. This is the one that's out there looking like a log, And it has, that has the woodworking thing, and it has their name, the rest the woodmen of the world. And in this book, it says, these are the other ones. They're not on hearts, but see, they're all the same round cylinder, but I'm not sure if that was just some fad, something during that time frame, you know, late 1800s, early 1900s, that they used, or if it was something, they did say in the book that the tree-like ones that we just saw with the woodsman on it, that they could be ordered from Sears and Roebuck. And so a lot of, in the early 1900s, especially in the Midwest, there were a lot of them because they could order them from Sears and Roebuck and then just put them out in the cemetery. So whether this is something like that. Now these, the ends are rough. The other one on the ladies are smooth. So I'm not sure. And this one, there's 3 family members right in a row and they're all like that. And the latest one, the oldest one, actually had like an airplane engraved on the top of that thing, sort of halfway over towards the back. So I'm not sure what that symbolizes. Yeah, that's another one. So there should be 3 of these. You could just go through those. Pretty soon we'll get to the, now this is one that has it almost looks like an angel and then going up, and it has the carvings, but it has the last name only and no other lettering on it. And there's another one on the other side, the east, northeast side, that is the same way. It just has the last name of the family and nothing else on it. So that's sort of going to be hard for genealogists to figure out who's there. It could be multiple burials, you know, because those things are pretty big. They take up more than one grave. So it could be up to 3 or 4 people in there. Now this is an example of my husband said I should put an example of the veterans. And there's one like this, and there's one in this is the bronze, and then there's one in granite. But I think everybody's pretty familiar with those. Okay. And this is the granite one, and it shows you the symbol they normally use. But they have other symbols for other religions. They have all kinds of different symbols that you can choose from when you put on your headstone. Okay, this one.
Sorry, I'm not sure where that one's
That's going to go straight up. This is one that's out of the old. It's Grabowski's. Brian Grabowski. He passed away, and when she made it tall. It's just very tall, and it comes down sort of like the older style. But she wrote on both sides and on the front, and then when she passes away, she'll be put on the back of it. But this is one of the unusual ones out there because it is one of the taller ones, and it's more shaped like the older ones used to be like. And this is one of the baby stones. And this one just has a little bit of ivy leaves on either side. And there's several of the baby ones that are out there. There's a couple that I got a picture of that had the little lambs sitting on them.
I'm going to try the next one here?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry for all the...
This one is,
Sorry, one moment. Technical difficulties. Here we go.
this one has some of the curlicues and that sort of thing, but it didn't have any real flowers or anything. They're not really flowers, they're just more really cute. And this one is in German. So how this guy got here and was buried here, I'm not real sure. You know, I know they did have immigrants come through here all the time, but this is out there. And I'm not sure what it says. I could send it back east to my uncle, and maybe he could read it. I'm not clear.
That's just the one side, there's
Yes.
nothing on the other side.
Just that side. And that's another baby one that has just the cross on the top, and then a picture of the baby. You can go through these. This one has an angel holding flowers, and that's not an infant, but it was a young person. That was 1851. And that might be when angels started coming into in the 1900s more. We get more and more angels all the time, more people want angels. And they have these new angel monuments, you know, where the angel's leaning over, weeping, or holding a heart, and that sort of thing. We get a lot of people that are interested in those things.
The same one, it looks like.
That one's one that has the little lamb on the shelf sitting. That's one of the other. It's a 2-year-old. Yeah, 2-year-old. And it's got a cross and a flower, and then it's got the lamb. And most of the time you see the lambs on baby stones. You don't see many lambs on any adults. You see them mostly all on children or young babies. That's another one that has like leaves and
Do the pictures last?
you can, you know, you can clean those pictures too. You use a collarbone from a bird cage. They get that same film if they're close to a sprinkler, and you just put water and let it soften it a little bit. Use a collarbone and rub it. It's like a shell, looks like a shell. That's what the birds sharpen their beaks on in their things. And that'll, you can go layer by layer and clean those pictures too.
And they're sealed?
Well, no, they're baked onto porcelain. And so like when we do our photos, you do the Photoshop, and then you run it through a laminator, and you laminate it with glass, powdered glass, or
But what if, this is 1928? What did
they
do
do
back
that.
then?
Well, I don't know, but the pictures are just the same.
Yeah.
They're on, most of them came from Europe then. We used to get all of ours from Italy, and it took 3 months. Well, then it got to be 6 months, so that's when we looked into it and decided we could do our own.
Yeah.
But they were doing them way back then over here. Okay. Now it's got Jesus hanging on the cross. And these are just some sample with the baby stones nowadays. There's Jesus holding a baby angel. And you can just go through them pretty quick now.
Okay. You want to let me know, Marmie, if you want any, because I know they're sideways, but I'll just click through if you want to see a
Okay.
bigger view of any of them, because they keep opening different ways. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. This is the back of one. I had to show you this. This is out of the north now. This is what they're doing now in the back. This is a big thing with all kinds of little pictures, and it covers the back of it completely. And if you go the next
Oh, yeah.
one or two. This one is right next to it. This one, you can actually see the guy driving the car. This came from LA. And this had to cost them $30,000 or $40,000, I don't know. But it'll show you the other side in a minute, in the next one. And that's the difference between then and now. This is the one that has all the pictures on the back, and it's got like 2 columns here, and put their dog on it.
So what do they do?
I don't know
For
how
the
they do it.
pictures
They
on the back.
must laser etch it, or somehow, I don't know how they did the card. Go to the next one, it should be the front of the card, or back of the card. That's the back of the card. See? Oh, there. The other side was the back. This is the front. Yeah, you can see them in the card. This is the front. And they had to get special dispensation for letting them put it in, because first of all, it didn't have a 6-inch base. Second of all, it's like 12 inches deep all the way up. And then it was a little bit too high, so they raised the height limit so that
I like the wording, how they did it. He was born in and he entered into rest.
yes. And this came from
Wow.
someplace down in LA did this for them. And how they did it, I don't know. That car and everything, that's all,
It's all one?
it's all one piece. And it's all polished all over it. But that's what I'm saying, it took so much work to get that thing like it.
So you got it looking like that?
It came looking like that. And Shelby was out there when they put it in. I don't know if the car was separate and they put the car on top afterwards or what. But this bottom piece, well, it doesn't look that. I thought this was all connected, but it looks like they have some kind of seal there. Or else maybe just the dirt has collected there. But I thought all this was one piece and then maybe the car was separated.
But the car, if it was separate, they'd break it off.
But this is how they're doing these ones now. And then, go ahead, you can do a couple more. I'll show you some that are, oh, this is the one. Oh, we did this one. This has got the guitar on it. And that came in, cut out in that shape, but then I had to draw that guitar and all the rest of the stuff on that. And the only way you could do that was to take a piece of paper, 1-inch squares, and trace the outline of the whole thing, and then inch by inch draw the lines where they belonged. And it took me forever.
So you're saying you got this thing blank?
Blank, yes.
Wow, okay.
Yes. Okay, then you can keep going.
I'm kind of surprised that they allow those.
This is another one I want to show you. This one is the big thing now. Everything's laser etched on there. They get all their pictures and everything else. But if you notice, and if you come out and look at it in a year or so, you're not going to be able to see half of that because it's not blasted deep enough to where you can't repaint it and have the paint stick. So it's a lot of the places won't even do this anymore if it's going to certain cemeteries because it costs them too much money to come back and redo it. But these are like the symbols and stuff that people are putting on their stones now. It's all about them. And
So would you, if this came, where did this stone come from?
I'm not sure where.
I mean, would you go out and take care of it if they ask, if you
No, I
didn't make
can't
it?
do it. I can't do anything to keep it clean.
Well, I mean,
If you-
any stone though, that if you guys didn't make it, and someone wanted you to come out to repair, clean,
Oh,
whatever.
we'll do that
Do
if
that
it can
to
be
us.
done. But
Okay.
this, something like
to
this cannot be
do the
done.
whole- yeah.
They'd have to come out and redo the whole thing all over again because it's never gonna be deep enough to clean the deposits off and then not take the paint
And this
off.
is in which cemetery?
The new one, north,
Which one was the one before?
where's north, with the car.
No, the guitar.
The guitars are the north too.
Oh.
Okay, you go to the next one.
Do you have any like this at the old cemetery
This
now?
is another one. I don't do them like this because we sandblast everything. we have, I saw you sandblasted, because this isn't gonna last, and so we don't do that. But, I have several, 2 or 3 out at the north that have Chinese lettering on them. They're Chinese families, and so all of their lettering is in Chinese, except like maybe forever in your heart on your bottom, but the rest is Chinese, and we have to draw those by hand because they don't come, in any components or anything we have. These look really nice, but they won't hold up for very long up there because that water is well water and it's harder. Okay. And a lot of the brochures we get, now this is more what we do, it's sandblasted in, so it can be out there as long as you want. You can clean it as often as you want, and you can repaint it as often as you want, because it's all polished. And so the grill brick would take over any overspray, it would take that off of the polished part. So, okay.
Oh, sorry.
I wanted to show you. This is one that people more and more are having us do special drawings. This was a rose that someone in their family drew for this person. And so when they died, they had us draw it so it could be redrawn in lines that the computer would recognize, and then sandblast, and then they put the names of the children, or their children in that, each leaf. And the majority of the flowers that we're asked to put on nowadays are roses. Very few, sometimes chrysanthemums. Primroses, we do a lot of primroses. This is one that's just to show you what they put on the back of theirs. Those, they, and a lot of the families just put as much as they can to cover it so that it's all over the place. So it's more clip art type decorating them now as what, instead of, old-fashioned type of things. We still do a lot of angels and crosses and Virgin Mary and Jesus and, that sort of thing. But we do a lot of these others too. This is one that has the rose, and that comes like this from the quarries. They'll blast and shape carve those roses and blast the polish off of them, and then it comes that way from the corn. And that one's really pretty. I like that.
How bad is vandalism, like trying to knock off?
In the
roses?
north, it's not as bad, but the north, they have security and they close up. It's getting a little more so out there now, but we don't have the statues missing, and we don't have a lot of destruction. There's one I have to show you because I was shocked by it when I saw it. Not that one. That just shows you that some of the normal things. This one. Okay, this guy, right? He's got Sacred Heart of Mary here, I think, or Jesus here. He's got Lady of Guadalupe here. He's got the doves, but all the way around are marijuana. And if you look at the back of it, I thought, what is he thinking? This is the back of it.
Cockroach.
Yeah. Now, when the centuries, in another 100 years or so, and people are coming through here and looking at some of these headstones, what are they going to think? It's just crazy. But I doubt if anybody in any of these books will have any of these as descriptions of, you know. But anyway, and that might be about the last one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's the other view. Those marijuana leaves go all the way around it. And I'm thinking, you know, what? So anyway,
This cat is fine. Is that what the guy who mosquito?
I have no idea. And I don't know what the tomatoes are either. Tomateros. Are they a team or something, tomateros?
It's a team.
I think it's a baseball team.
Oh, maybe it's a, yeah, maybe it's a ball team or something.
Oh.
Yeah. But normally when a customer comes in, we talk to them a little bit and see if they have something in mind that they want. And if they do, we try and draw it for them or do it for them so that they get what they want, because it's gonna be out there for a long time, and I don't want anybody coming back and saying, you know, this isn't what I wanted. I don't want them ever thinking it's what I want. I want them to do their own
Did you
thing.
do this one?
No,
Is there something that, like, not from what you just said, probably not, I mean, would you have refused to do that? Did you ever refuse anybody?
I did refuse one time, several years back, a lady wanted marijuana on her headstone or her niche plate or whatever. At the time, there was no legal marijuana or anything. I told her, no, I didn't want to do that. I didn't feel I should do that. And so she checked with the cemetery and they said, no, they wouldn't allow it. And so it was easy for me to get out of it because they wouldn't allow it. Now, you can't do that anymore. It's legal. It's, you know, and so you're liable to see lots of them out there like that. You know, there's it's a very rewarding job. I love my job. It's not even my work because you're helping somebody and you're helping them through probably the worst time of their lives. And it's very depressing sometimes when you're doing little children or suicide or, you know, there's a lot of times that it's just, you know, but we just pray all the time for all of the people that we come in contact with. And you find that those that belong or believe in God and have a religion, it's much easier on them. The ones that have no real belief in God, they are lost. They are angry. They don't know where to turn, what to do, who to go to. They don't know what to do in a lot of cases. And so you get all kinds. It is a very rewarding job. I love what I do. And I refer to this book all the time, especially if somebody comes in and they tell me what the guy was like that didn't know. I turn to this, if it's a guy, I turn to the oak leaves and the oak tree, and I read this to him, and I said, does that sound like him to you? And they said, yes. So that tells us right away what we want on them. So there are more of these books over there. If anybody is really interested in it and likes it, you're more than welcome to take one of those books and keep it, free of charge. I love to take it with me when we go on trips. We went to Michigan with my daughter when she was going to Michigan for her master's. I went out there and spent a week with her. And what did we do? We went to the cemeteries. And the one in Detroit was absolutely amazing. Section as big as our whole cemetery almost of firemen or policemen or nurses or whatever, steel workers. They had sections, huge sections of these stones, and they were gorgeous. They were just beautiful. And it seems to me the older the cemeteries, the much more interesting they are, and the more variety of what you can see is what you get. But I encourage any and all of you, they're very peaceful places. I haven't gotten mugged or anything yet, it's going on 18 years, nobody's chased me. But I love what I do, and I hope I can keep doing it for a few more years. Thank you.